All right, so you guys are going the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you doing?
We're gonna sell off both of our businesses and move to Puerto Rico.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
This is a terrible time to have you, or a great time to have you on the podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we're working out the
Yeah.
logistics of it. I have my youngest son is 13 and in 8th grade.
Okay.
And we decided we're not going to pull them out of the schools they're in. We're going to let them graduate from
cool.
high school before we make any changes. And obviously, I still need to make money over the next 3 to 4 years, you know. And there's a lot that goes into, you know. I'm not just moving 3 states away.
Right.
I'm moving to an island.
Yeah.
You know, that's our goal. And be successful and actually do something that we can actually make money at. when we get there. You know, we haven't figured that out, that plan. Like you say, we're gonna get rid of 2 businesses and try to do something crazy.
That's wild.
You know, we even talked about a restaurant, and Kyle was the first one. He's like, "Don't do a restaurant. Don't do it, man."
Yeah, restaurants are awful.
Yeah.
I was just talking with. So why Puerto Rico?
We visited there last Christmas. We took the family. Christmas is a good time for us to get away because my goats are all dried off. I'm only milking some cows during that period.
Okay.
Tends to be a slow restaurant time, slow retail time between Christmas and New Year's, and the kids are all school, so we go away. That's our Christmas gift to our kids. We've done it for about 6 years now.
Okay.
Once they got to the point where the belief wasn't there anymore, we decided that we're going to give them memories instead of junk.
That's cool.
Because it's not like when we were kids where you waited till your birthday or Christmas to get something.
Yeah.
You just get all the time now.
Yeah.
You need it, you go get it. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
But so we went last Christmas and kind of fell in love with it. We fell in love with the idea of living somewhere warmer.
Okay.
My wife has been to some places, to Costa Rica. We kind of looked at Belize, but we're not to that retirement age.
Yeah.
We still want to make money, and to move to those places and make money is not possible. You know, it's not possible for an expat to go there and to make money. So we looked at Puerto Rico, and it fits us.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
So, all right, let's talk a little bit more about Puerto Rico. Do you have an idea of like what that business is that you're going to do to make money while you're there?
I think it's probably going to be real estate.
Okay.
You know, we're what we consider fairly young yet. I haven't turned 50 yet. My wife's under 50. Debt is very minimal.
Yeah.
We moved into our home that we're in now 20 some years ago. So, you know, the mortgage is almost gone. We've done nothing but add value to our property. We added solar panels. We added, you know, those things, some barns and a big building that my wife's office is in. And so we've just added value. So we're, you know, we're to the point where we can cash out.
Yeah.
There's some huge tax incentives to go to Puerto Rico too.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah. What is it? Like, yeah, tax incentives if you live down there are amazing.
Yeah.
You can still vote.
Well, there's some things you have to do to get those tax incentives, though, and that's assimilate to the island life and get away from the U.S. and vote on the island. And, you know, there's a lot of research and stuff that's got to go into it to make sure that we're successful at it.
Yeah.
And my wife and I are both driven people, and it's, you know, it's pretty easy when you're that way.
That's awesome.
We're both successful. I mean, I get up every day between 3:30 and 5:30 in the morning to work, and that's to be able to spend time with my family later in the day.
Yeah.
You know, so
tell everybody what it is that you do and what the business is or businesses are.
Well, I'm Barry Spratt from Two Kids Goat Farm. We are, I guess, what the buzzword would be a micro dairy or artisan creamery. But I'm a cheesemaker.
Yeah.
I milk goats and milk cows and make artisan cheeses.
Yeah. So what got you started into that? Because you said you're saying earlier you've been doing it for 10 years.
Yeah, yep. Well, my wife and I've been in our home for around 20 years at the time, and we had a barn that was there when we moved in. There's pasture land, and we're just sitting there going, we need to kind of figure out what to do to have our property make money for us. And so we decided to get a couple goats after my kids were born for pets to start. Well, 2 turned into 4. The second ones I bought, one of them was in milk, the other one was pregnant. So I started hand milking this goat. I learned how to milk from YouTube.
Wow.
Right. I learned how to hand milk a goat. The guy showed me when I bought it, and he's like, it's a piece of cake, you know, and I'm like, I walked away and I'm like, yeah, I can go home and do that. No problem, you know, and got home and I got the bucket under the goat and I'm trying to milk the goat and nothing's coming out. I'm like, son of a gun, what do I do? I'll pull my phone out, YouTube.
Yeah.
So next thing you know, I'm milking a goat. My wife's lactose intolerant. So I'm like, okay, here's, you know, we're taking care of it, handling it like we should, you know, get it refrigerated quickly, like, strain it. And I get done hand milking this goat, and I keep doing it. You know, you got to do it every day.
Right.
You know, she doesn't have babies on her. If you want to keep the milk, you got to keep milking them.
Yeah.
So I was milking this goat, had more milk than my wife was drinking. My sister-in-law brings me a cheese making kit, and I made 30-minute mozzarella with this goat's milk. It was rubbery. It was chewy. It was. I'm like, this is not, you know, what I expected. You know, so did a lot of research and tooling around and reading, and I'm like, okay. I started buying some cultures and started messing around making chev.
Yeah.
And we joke about it. We call it our illegal cheese. You know,
Yeah.
we were making chev, and friends were eating it, and you know, and my friends were like, and my wife was like, the big goat cheese eaters, and they're like, this is amazing. Like, we've never had goat cheese like this. And
That's
I'm
awesome.
I'm like, okay, you know, and I was like, well, maybe we figure out something to do with this. You know, what do we have to do to become legal and go through the whole process and deal with the state and the FDA and where do we go for the just finding the information to do those things is so difficult.
Yeah.
Like, unless you know where to go.
Yeah.
You know, you go on a state website, right?
Yeah. It's a
It's
nightmare.
endless.
Yeah.
Right. And then you go to the Ag and Markets website. Then you got to go to find dairy control, and then you have to go to the FDA and get the, you know, all these acronyms and everything that you're going, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But
That's wild.
so we kind of put a game in place that I was going to work for 3 more years for the company I was working for, and we were going to grow a herd. We were going to build a cheese plant, you know, in our existing barn, and kind of take it slow and get this going. The kids would be a little older when the time was ready to go into business. And about 3 weeks later, I come home from work and I told my wife, I said, they just hired a kid in my sales territory. And she goes, what? I was like, they just hired my replacement. I said, I'll be done within 6 months.
Wow.
At my job. And she's like, no, you know, and even the manager and everybody, you know, where I worked, no, you're fine. You're fine. Like, it's not my first rodeo. I knew what was going on. I was going to train my replacement.
Yeah.
And about 6 months to the day, I get the call.
Wow.
You know, can you come in tomorrow morning? And so I said, sure. You know, and I called my wife about 9 a.m. that morning. I said, hey, come pick me up at, you know, the office. I said, I'm done. I said, looks like we're going to hot lap our goat farm project and run with it now.
Wow.
So that's what we did.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Huh. It kind of sounds similar to like a lot of like how breweries get started. They're home brewing, and then somebody gives them. I know 2 or 3 brewery owners today who got started with mother-in-law, sister, someone gave them a homebrew kit, and now they own a brewery today. So that's
Exactly.
pretty wild. So have been doing it for 10 years, and I mean, what the like? Well, first of all, you're saying the goats kind of go dry. Are they like chickens where in the wintertime everything slows up?
Yeah, I guess the thing to relate them to would be like deer. They only go in the heat in the fall,
Yeah,
so you can only breed them in the fall.
gotcha.
Their lactation cycles, 7 months
Hmm.
is a long lactation cycle.
Yeah,
Through the years, I've done a good job breeding, and I only keep the ones that lactate long
Gotcha.
and with good quantity. Um, where when I first started, I was just buying up any animal I could get.
yeah,
We learned a lot of lessons in early stages, with animals, and then we just brought all our husbandry in house and raised everything from within.
Yeah.
The only thing I really go outside to buy anymore is a breeding male.
okay,
But yeah, they go into estrus in the fall.
mm-hmm.
We have to dry them off. We give them about 4 to 5 weeks
Okay,
of dry off period, and then normally right now as we're sitting here, I should have 20, 30 babies on the ground. But nature this year is not having that. I have one baby that was born while we were away at Christmas,
oh wow,
and the other girls are just laying around fat and uncomfortable.
oh geez,
And I'm ready to get back to producing.
Yeah.
That's it's nice to have that break.
yeah,
And I don't get a total break because we have I have a dozen Jersey cows on the farm too,
wow,
and I make cow milk cheese for
Okay.
a lot of the local restaurants too.
oh wow,
That got started with really with Paulie from a pizza.
mm.
We crazy part, as we were talking, as we came in, we were talking about the business and
Yeah.
what the goal of your side is, and
yeah,
7 years ago, Mark from Farm to Fork 101, hey, can you be part of one of my dinners? Be part of one of my dinners. Be part of one of my dinners. And I'm like, well, the people that you're doing the dinners at, I'm not really doing business with. I'm not just going to give cheese to them.
yeah,
I was at a point already that I was like being selective of where I wanted to do business and who I wanted to do business with. And I was like, I just don't get what Mark,
Yeah.
like I wanted to know about your business, and I just want to know, where's I come from sales and marketing and money, and I want to know where the dollars are coming and going and who's making money on this, and to find out, on those dinners, really nobody's making money.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
just for the people,
Yeah.
and but I finally, I broke down and did one. And as we're getting ready to wind down the night and leave, Paul Messina hands me a business card and says, hey, can I come visit your farm?
oh that's cool,
I'm like, sure. Now, this was a huge turning point because this is at least 5 years ago. I want to say 5 years ago because he just had his 5th anniversary.
yeah,
It'd probably be,
wow, has it been that long?
I want to say that he just had his
Yeah.
5th so it was about, springtime 5 years ago. And I was like, well, we did the farm thing. We had our own farm day for a few years, and it got crazy. Like 1,500, 1,600 people on my farm
Holy shit,
during a day,
wow,
and like total stress out, like getting ready for it, because it's just me, and I had some afternoon high school help, and to get ready for something like that's, just super stressful.
I bet.
So I said, you know what? Sure. I said, come up, visit, see what I have, and I'm thinking, hey, he owns a pizza shop. He's not going to buy a lot of goat cheese, you know, and maybe, you know, a couple pounds here and there when they run a special. And that's,
Yeah.
I need pounds a week.
Yeah.
You know, I need consistency in sales. So him and his kitchen manager at the time show up Monday afternoon. And first thing he says to me, he gets out of his truck and he says, "What are the cows for?" And I said, "Well, let me explain." Because it was a business. The cows were a business decision. When you have goat kids and you need goat milk to make goat cheese, you have to feed the milk back to the kids. Or you have to substitute, use, you know, replacers or whatever. The best replacer you can find is cow milk, raw cow milk. So I bought cows to have in milk to feed my goat kids to save me money, because it was cheaper for me to just milk a cow or two and feed a cow or two than it was to buy replacer or feed back that goat milk. So I told him that, and he goes, "Well, do you make anything with the cow milk?" And I was like, "Well, yeah." I was like, "I make, you know, fromage blanc, which is Chev's alter ego, but in cow milk."
Yeah.
And when I'm not making goat's milk cheese. And he goes, "What about mozzarella?" And I was like, "I don't do mozzarella. It's a lot of work, you know. It's not something I do." He goes, so we get to talking about it, and he goes, "I just want the curd." He goes, "We stretch it in-house."
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, well, that's a piece of cake. And I was like, mozzarella is pretty boring, you know. It's basic. It's a basic cheese, but he wanted a flavor profile. So with me being in charge of the production and what goes on and what goes into the milk and how everything's done, we worked on and created a flavor profile just for his shop. And from there, it just went crazy. You know, that handing off of the business card from that, you know,
that's wild.
Yeah. And I, like I said, I just kept going, I don't want to do one of these farm to fork dinners. I don't want to do one of these farm to fork dinners. And, you know, and here I am, you know, you get into them and it's all like high end foodies.
Right.
Or restaurateurs.
Yeah.
And chefs, you know, I'm just,
it's your people.
Yeah. And it's where I needed to be. And I didn't know it, you know, so.
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, well, so what do you do like when you all just went on a vacation? So what do you do with the animals then? Do you have staff or do you just have to find somebody?
Yeah, right now I have a gal that's a senior in high school and getting ready to graduate, that she house sits for us and cares for we have 3 dogs. She takes care of the dogs, takes care of the farm.
Talking about responsibility.
Yeah. And, you know, it's one of those kids, you know, you live in the country where we live, those kids all have responsibility.
Yeah.
You know, parents are a little tougher on the kids out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Know,
That's pretty funny.
They have animals and know what it takes. And I have a good, being in 10 years, I have kids that I've used over the years that are now adults.
Yeah.
That if I get into trouble or she gets into trouble, like, hey, I need help. Can you go help? You know.
Yeah.
You know.
We had during COVID, one of my many projects. One of them was backyard chickens, because we live in the city.
Yeah.
So, but we bought the empty lot next to the house, so we've got a decent sized yard for being on the north side. And so, anyways, I got 10 chickens. I built a coop that was like indestructible. It's like a freaking house,
Taj Mahal chicken coops.
It was just so stupidly ridiculous. I could have housed probably 50 chickens in that thing, and it cost me like $1,000 to build it. I should have just gotten something cheap and stupid. But anyways, I'm sorry, honey, who's listening to this. We just had to actually rent a dumpster to get rid of it. That's how big the freaking thing was. But so I did that. I built a run for them with like pallets around it, covered the whole thing in chicken wire so that way birds and stuff couldn't get in there and go after them, hawks or whatever.
Yep.
And so they had this great little space, and I got 10. I got them online from was it McMurray's Hatchery or whatever it is, and got 10 of them. One of them turned out to be a rooster, so we got rid of him, and two other ones died when they were babies, but or chicks. But yeah, we had 7 of them, and yeah, it was great. You
Right?
know?
They're worth gold now if you
Yeah,
have layers.
I know.
I mean,
I regret
oh,
it. I regret getting rid of them.
it's you shouldn't say that because really eggs, even at the price they are right now, are still one of the cheapest proteins you can buy.
Yeah,
Right?
for sure.
And my wife and I were just talking about it the other day, and the biggest concern is who's getting that extra $4
Yeah.
a dozen?
right,
Is it going to Wegmans? Is it going to Aldi's?
right.
Is it going back to the farmers?
It's not yeah,
You know, it's not going
Yeah.
to the farmers, right?
Right.
Right?
Nothing goes to the
like
farmers.
so it's just straight up greed, right?
Yeah.
That's driving this. The
Yeah.
inflation of everything. Our government is driving the price of everything right
Yeah.
now. And
We just had to make a decision because through and fried is fried chicken sandwiches,
Yeah.
and we were using liquid eggs, so pre-scrambled right in the thing, and so that was our dip. We would go dry, wet, dry, and then fry it. And I've been wanting to rework the recipe anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. But when I was ordering last week, I was like, holy crap, a case of liquid eggs has gone up, 50%.
yeah.
And so we wound up switching to buttermilk, and now we have a better product, I think, because of it. But I was thinking to myself, if I had those stupid chickens, I'd be set right now. I wouldn't have to be worried about this.
Right.
Because I was getting like 6 to 8 eggs a day,
Yeah.
even in the winter. So I only had them for one winter, but even in the winter time, I was still getting like 6 to 8 eggs a day. It was wild.
Yeah.
So they were fun, kind of fun to have. It was amazing. One day, I was really cautious of them to make sure nothing happened to them, and so I always kept them in the chicken run. Except if I was home and out in the backyard with them, I would let them run throughout the whole yard. And so one day, I was on the other side of the yard. The chickens were out. I was on the other side of the yard. A neighbor was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you have chickens!" And I was like, "Girls, come here!" And just like a dog, all of them came running over to me.
Gateway drug to farming.
Yeah.
You know that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We actually had chickens before we had goats.
Oh,
And
really?
before we had cows, we had goats.
Yeah.
And,
That's pretty funny.
it gets crazy,
Yeah.
We
We eventually got rid of them. Friends of ours who live up in North or Central Square, who had a lot of land. They had goats, and I was like, "Do you want chickens?" So when I went full time with Eat Local, I felt bad because every day I would leave the house, I'd go walk out the backyard, and 15 feet away is the chicken coop. And as soon as they would hear me open the door, they would all come running to the gate, wanting to get let out, and I felt terrible all the time. So, so eventually I was just like, we're gonna give them to them where they can have a better life. And I don't know if they're still alive or not. I can't imagine they are. But anyway,
and there's enough farmers with chickens with eggs at the farmers market that you can go buy locally raised eggs,
Right.
and support somebody else.
Yeah.
That's
But it was the only times it really I mean, they're disgusting animals.
livestock is.
Yeah. So other than that, the worst part about them was it was in the wintertime, getting out there and shoveling their chicken run for them, and from the snow. But yeah, no, it was fun. I enjoyed it. I can't imagine. I could not be a farmer. I know that for certain. There's no way in hell that I could ever do what you do or other farmers do.
Why do you say that?
It's your life. It's your life.
It is.
Like when my wife and I, like going away for Christmas, we had to, luckily she has a friend who, we have friends who the wife went to school for agriculture and taught in like schools, she teaches out in Rome right now, I think. So luckily they lived close by and had no problem going over and making sure the water hadn't frozen and, all that, that kind of stuff, but getting the eggs every morning. But if it wasn't for that one random person, we'd be screwed.
Yeah.
You're not leaving.
That's and two, you just explained to me how you'd let the girls out.
Yeah.
They're not just chickens,
Right.
right? Even on the biggest dairy farms in New York or Wisconsin or California, the people that own those animals and own those cows and goats and chickens,
Yeah.
pigs, they're family members.
Right.
They're assets, but they're also family members. Death comes and goes on a farm.
Yeah.
And it's the hardest thing to watch, you know?
Yeah.
When it's coming, it's great. But
Right.
with that, you know, that with the birth, there's the death that goes
Yeah.
with it. And it doesn't matter if you have 4,000 or 4.
Yeah.
People still care.
Right.
You know, everybody wants that's a big factory farm. It's not.
Yeah.
Most of those farms are still owned by families, and they have their kids running around the farms. I live next to one of the largest educators in the dairy industry, and they are phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a big farm.
Yeah.
But it's all family.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, we're starting to do some work for the New York Beef Council, and talking with the people and working with, like, Chrissy, who's, I don't know if Chrissy's running the whole program here now in upstate, or if she's just still doing marketing. But anyways, I mean, talking to them and working with them, yeah, obviously they have a passion for, you know, farming and especially for beef and all that kind of stuff, but just agriculture in general. But it's such a massive, like, I just started running the Limp Lizard in North Syracuse, where Through and Fried is out of. So this past week was my first full weekend with the restaurant open.
I saw that.
And I mean, not just the brisket and the pork and the ribs that we went through, but we sold 26 cases of chicken wings this weekend. And I'm sitting there going through, you know, digging through cases of chicken wings. I'm like, holy shit, how many chickens is, you know, or cutting down our chicken breast. And the chicken breast is like this big, and it's this massive. I'm like, well, this obviously wasn't not a humanely organic chicken.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you, like, what's your stance on factory farming? What do you think about that stuff?
You know, the chicken industry and is just a totally different industry, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that has changed in my lifetime, you know, from when I was a kid to now tremendously, right? Back in the 70s, people with money ate chicken.
Yeah.
Right? Chicken was expensive. Now we've turned it into this big, you know, coop after coop after coop and you know, massive breast size, and
Right.
the animals don't move. You know, I don't agree with it,
Yeah.
but we're in a position as a country, as a world. I mean, not even as a country, as a world, we really don't grow enough food for the people that are here.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you think about it, I don't want to get political, but
Right.
people don't understand the Ukraine, how important the Ukraine is to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
30% of the world's wheat comes
Yeah.
from the Ukraine. That's huge. That's the Fertile Crescent, right?
Yeah, right.
That 30% of the world's wheat. And you think of the products that come from that wheat, right?
Oh, yeah.
They're inexpensive products. They tend to be products that feed poor people.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen the, you know, what really the cause of that
Yeah.
war is going to have on
Oh.
the rest of the world and our food system.
I listened to this whole podcast. I listened to Rogan. Actually, COVID and building the chicken coop got me into Rogan. My brother used to always tell me, "Oh, you got to check out this podcast from Joe Rogan." I'm like, dude, they're 3 hours long. That's not happening.
He's a madman.
Yeah.
Right.
And then all of a sudden during COVID, I'm out in the yard for 3 hours each day working on the coop and drinking beer. So I was like, all right, I'll listen. And, but he just had this episode, and I'm going to butcher everything. But the guy basically, this guy whose job is to look at all of these different factors in the world and make determinations on what's going to happen, and like that part of the world and how that's going to affect this over here. And he was talking a lot about countries that are about to nations that are about to like collapse or fall because they don't have the generation. There aren't as many people in the younger generations to support the older generations, and B, the younger generations, how they've been raised, were doing this stuff on their phone and not creating things or building things.
Yeah.
But one of the things that they were talking a lot about was the war in Ukraine and how we globally we haven't really seen any effects from it, but they're coming out of the mud season in like March, and that's when everything's supposed to pick up, and everybody else, all those effects like you're talking about are going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. We've got a family. My wife's family is from Boonville. My father-in-law was a now retired big animal vet, and he's from Iowa. And the family in Iowa are all farmers. They're either I don't think there's any cattle farmers, but there might be. But I think they're all either pig farmers or corn farmers.
IBP, Iowa Beef and Pork, baby.
Yeah.
You would talk about factory farming.
Yeah.
My father lived in Sioux City for a while, and it's packing plants and slaughterhouses and poultry farms and then corn for as far as the eye can see.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, corn or soybeans, right?
Yeah.
So they've got friends out there. I mean, everybody in the family out there has big farms or works on a farm or connected somehow. But one of my father-in-law's old high school friends has this massive farm that's all corn or soybeans. And we were out there last September, got to climb up in the big combine and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, it's just insane. But I was asking him, I was like, well, what do you do with all this corn? All goes over to China.
Yep.
It's insane.
Yeah.
He's like, all of it gets shipped out to China, one way or the other. And I'm like, oof, what happens what happens when something happens over there where they don't need all this corn,
Yeah. I mean, it's a global economy, the farming industry. People don't understand that. It's huge.
How much of it goes everywhere else?
Yeah. It's as simple as we go back to the educating part, right?
Yeah.
You talk to people that don't even understand that a cow's got to be bred
right
to be milked, or a goat's got to be bred to be milked.
Yeah.
It doesn't just all of a sudden have a mammary system and can be milked. There's a lot of people that don't understand that.
Yeah.
Or they think, I had one on the top of my head and I lost it.
What do you think about to me, it feels like things that Mark was a part of, even though he's still got Eden Fresh Network, and I know they're getting ready to change names, and he's still doing his thing with all of that. It feels like to me, locally at least, that the movement of support local, buy local, eat local has really died down. Have you noticed that? Or is like demand for your product increased? Is it like how's that been looking like over the past couple of years?
I don't know if it's died down. I think there's a lot more options now.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people in the 10 years that I've been doing it have jumped into the business, jumped into the industry. So there's more options. There's more options even locally not a word, but in your neighborhood than in Syracuse. You know what I mean? It's COVID was crazy, right?
Yeah.
COVID, people that owned businesses at the beginning of COVID were going, am I going to survive?
Yeah.
To then going crazy, like the food industry went crazy with all the takeout and everything, and I mean, my business was booming.
I bet.
Like nuts. Like I COVID was amazing.
Yeah.
And on the backside of it, I had picked up some customers during COVID. I've kept them. They're still doing, quality business with me. I I haven't went out and looked for new customers.
That's great.
You know, we're producing enough cheese, and I can only produce so much physically.
Right.
But yeah, it just the whole roller coaster of the past 3 to 4 years has just been nuts for everybody.
Yeah.
The kids, your family life. There's another thing, just like the Ukraine, we haven't even touched the surface of what's going to come out of that
Yeah.
year to 18 months of masking our kids going to school, not going to school. You're going to see a generation of kids that were in their,
Yeah.
in that middle school age that are going to get to the real world and possibly struggle,
Yeah.
socially. I don't know. There's
Yeah, it's kind of like what we were talking about before about failure, when it comes to business a little bit. I mean, I'm the youngest of four, and I have two older brothers that are 4 and 5 years older than I am. And, I was really annoying when I was a kid, but they beat it out of me. I got, I'm not advocating for people getting bullied by any stretch of the imagination, but I was fortunate to have two older brothers that if I said something that was stupid, that they let me know about it, and you definitely don't see that as much nowadays.
I was gonna say we sit here and we're joking about that and laughing about that. I was the younger brother too.
Yeah.
I tormented my older brother.
Yeah.
And then I took my beating,
Right.
or ran yelling, screaming, "Mom!"
Yeah.
It was just. But that's what we did.
Yeah.
I don't know. The kids, like I said, the kids in where my kids go to school, a little different. They're in a school that's pre-K through 12th grade.
Yeah.
And there's less than 400 kids in the school.
Oh yeah.
And some of the bullying goes on. But
yeah.
I think you need a bit of it. There's certain things you can't bully about,
Right.
but you need it teaches you some life skills, right? Being picked on. If somebody's not picking on you or trying to put you down, or even in the workplace, when you work in the corporate world, your boss is always
Yeah.
kind of got the it depends on the kind of boss or coach. They always have their thumb on you, right?
Right.
And you have to learn to be able to deal with that.
Yeah.
And persevere and get beyond what that person's trying to do to you.
Yeah.
Whether they're trying to teach you a lesson or just keep you under them, you have to, the kids have, I think it's a life skill to be able to deal with a bully.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, to be able to stand up to, without a doubt. Yeah, I was just sitting here thinking, like, my wife and I were just having this conversation. I mean, this was my first full weekend at the restaurant, and I don't think it's been a long time since I've really had to say to myself, what is wrong with you? Why did you do this? You've made a terrible, terrible mistake. I mean, I've put in 40, I mean, long hours better than anybody else, but, putting in 40 hours in 3 days at a restaurant, I was like, this is the dumbest thing. Why did you agree to this? What are you doing with your life? Your son's at home growing up without you. Like all of those terrible things. I came home, I think it was Friday night, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I did this. I will never do any. You have to stop me. The next time I come home and say I have this opportunity, you have to say, no, you can't do it. And I think that's, a lot. I don't know how long, I don't know when this started, because I've been hearing, it's not like over the past few years, but even growing up, like all of the messages of, you can do it. You can have your dreams can come true. Life can be great and wonderful. While those are great things to attain, to strive for, I think it's like, some things you shouldn't do. Some things, hey, that's a stupid idea. You shouldn't do that. That won't work.
Yeah.
And maybe we need to hear that a little bit more in the beginning on some stuff.
Yeah. And we're not all meant to go to college. We're not all book smart people. We're not all, it's I got a lot of places in my life, not because of the education I had, not because of where I'm from, but it's how I treated people, how I handled people.
Yeah.
My personality. I like to think that I'm a likable person
Yeah.
most days. But you know, you kind of put yourself in situations where you can grow, you know, and talk to people
Yeah.
like this current business that I'm in.
Yeah.
I came into it knowing nothing about animal husbandry, about I'm just I was blessed with friends that have dairy farms around me that I could call if I, you know, an animal goes down, you know, I can't get a hold of the vet. I have a
Yeah.
friend, you know, and people are willing to help you out and work, you know. At first they were like, who's this loon? You know, you know, I'm in southern Onondaga County,
Yeah.
right in the middle of, you know, some of the largest dairy producers in the state of New York. And, you know, you start talking about, oh, I'm going to milk goats and make cheese, you know, milk goats, you know, and dairy farmers, you know, cow guys are looking at me like, this guy's out of his mind. He's never going to do it, never going to happen. And you know, 5 years later, they're all going, oh my God, we can't believe what you've done, you know, in this little operation and how successful you've been. And
That's awesome.
and, you know, but you have to use the people around you, not use, but
Yeah.
take advantage of the people around you and what they know, and don't think you know everything, right?
Yeah.
That's the easiest way to, you know, get by when you can have the humility to say, I don't understand. Can you tell me again, or can you help me?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
instead of going, oh, I know everything.
Yeah. That's probably the point to all of it is be humble. Not necessarily go get beat up, but be humble. You
Yeah.
know. Have you ever seen the movie Funny Farm?
That's Chevy Chase,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. It's been a lot of years, but yeah.
So if you could, you know, 3-4 years, whatever the timeline is, you're packing up and moving to Puerto Rico. If you could pick up the business and the goats and everything and bring it there, would you?
No.
Yeah.
No. Just like your decision, you just made about running a restaurant.
Yeah.
10 years of it.
Yeah.
And you know, my kids, you know, I'm first generation farmer. I didn't grow up farming. My wife didn't grow up farming.
What'd your parents do?
My mother worked for the municipality that I grew up in. My dad was a property manager and real estate and sales and you know, we looked at it, and you know, our kids have opportunities. They don't have to go to college. They can step in and become partners in businesses that exist. You know, like I said, my wife's got a successful dental laboratory.
Oh, really?
She makes crowns and bridges, and you know, anything to do with the medical or dental industry is,
Wow.
you know, it's why I can do what I do.
Yeah.
But neither of our boys want anything to do with either of our businesses. You know, they don't want to learn either of the trades, and it's like,
Yeah.
hey, you know what? That's fine. You know, we're ready to move on and try something different. You know,
Right.
My wife's been in her industry since she was 15 years old. She started out in a dental office assisting, and you know, has built her own brand and herself, and you know, the cheese making. And I had the opportunity when I was a kid, because my parents were divorced, to travel and see some different states and whatnot. And one of the summers when I was pretty impressionable, probably 12, 13 years old, I got to spend about a week and a half with my one uncle who has been in the food industry, married a European gal, and her brother was a restaurateur, and you know, I get to spend time in their restaurant in Western Colorado. You know, slicing mushrooms and peeling garlic is basically what I did for a week. You know, and I loved it. I you know, I kind of had that food passion. Like, I want to be a chef. I want to, you know, but I knew that chef lifestyle, if I wanted to have a family later in life, you know, was not something you could really, you know.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, Especially, I've known it, and then especially this weekend, it's like I don't know how people become lifelong cooks, chefs. I mean, you have no life whatsoever.
Man,
I mean,
I mean, we were talking about the guy when I came in today, right?
yeah,
Two little kids,
yeah,
right? Trying to take on Syracuse like a storm,
right,
and every door gets shut in his face,
yeah,
and I'm thinking, how are you pulling this off with two little ones at home, and
yeah,
and he's got a good support system though. His
yeah,
wife's family's here, she supports everything he does, and
yeah,
but
yeah.
you didn't talk to him about going into the restaurant.
No, I did. I mean, 3-1 Fried is it's very simple because it's inside of another restaurant, and I'm partners, and Nick and Chuck have got this, got everything handled. So that I really haven't done much. Like, came up with the idea,
concept,
the
right?
menu, tested out all the food, that kind of stuff. Sure, but there was a crew there that was running the kitchen, so that wasn't really a big deal at all. It was now when the guy who was running the show out there for Limp Blizzard and with 3-1 Fried, he left, and it's a great opportunity because we really needed somebody better in there. And I was like, I love being able to look at something that's not working and say, well, here's where it's broken and here's how to fix it. So I was like, hell, I can do that. And opened up my big mouth and said I would do it. So that's the part that I regret. But just immediately after this weekend, I'm like getting up there and just I'm like, okay, I immediately have to segment and like, okay, I'm gonna do this and this guy's gonna do that. But yeah, I mean, restaurant, no way in hell. I'll tell you what, talking to, because there's this generation of owners that they've been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years. They're getting older, don't want to do it anymore. You can't blame them, right? They're 50, 60, older in some cases, tired, want to chill, they want to relax. And they don't have either the family doesn't want to, the kids don't want to have anything to do with it, or they don't have the kids and they have no one to pass it on to. And so we're seeing that as a real big generational divide right now. And the other thing that we're learning is, or at least that I'm seeing from some people I'm talking to, they're trying to sell a restaurant right now that's not worth anything. They've got this restaurant, they've had it for 20 years. It's like, oh, this is worth $1 million. It's worth like maybe 75,000 if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And really, nobody has to buy that. They could just wait for you to go out of business and come in and just take over your lease.
Take the building,
Yeah.
right? That's, I mean.
So it's really, it can be an exciting, and it is an exciting time for restaurants. But it's really hard. I mean, I couldn't imagine with how hard it is today. I can't imagine what it was like 10 years ago, when things were easier.
Yeah, and I think we're heading back to some hard times.
Yeah.
Before it gets better.
Yeah.
The interest rate and everything that's going on right now, I think money's starting to dry up a little bit.
Yeah.
And people are starting to see the writing on the wall. When you go to the grocery store and, my kids, obviously 5 years is a lot difference, but they're two grown boys. And my wife hasn't changed how we shop or what we buy. I mean, I produce my own beef.
Yeah.
I have a steer born. I just take it to the butcher and I have beef. I have friends that raise pigs. I'll trade cow for pig, and whatever. So we don't buy a lot of proteins, you know, and which is your bulk of your cost when you go to the grocery store.
Right.
What are we paying? $7, $8 a pound for ground beef?
Oh yeah.
But my wife hasn't changed the way she shops. But our grocery bill is twice what it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
For a week. And it's like, holy cow, where
Yeah.
I sit back and I go, we're able to pay for it. I couldn't imagine somebody living paycheck to paycheck, true paycheck to paycheck, 2 kids at home, 3 kids at home, trying to feed a family today.
Oh yeah.
You're right? Because
Yeah.
the thing that hasn't went up for people is their wage.
Yeah.
Everything else is going up exponentially.
Yeah.
People aren't getting paid more,
No.
you know?
Oh, a little bit more now thanks to New York State, but they should be getting paid more. I mean, and I hate to, I understand that by saying that and people getting paid a lot more money, that means all the costs are going to go up again. But it's wild to think how many people are out there. I mean, I was just talking to a restaurant owner this morning, telling him we found this great cook for the restaurant, well versed in experience and what we're doing, available, willing to work, open to close shifts, whatever. And then told him what he wanted a week, and he wants $1,100 a week salary for 5 days work. To work about 60 hours a week, hard labor, cooking, the only person doing, and the restaurant owner was like, that's way too much. I can't believe there's no way that's going to work out. And in my head, I'm like, I just did it for a weekend and think I should be getting paid like $100,000.
You're talking less than $20 an hour, right? Yeah. For somebody that has some skill and some chops that you can bring in, and you can leave the restaurant for a day and know that it's going to be there tomorrow. Yeah. And the work's going to be done. That's huge. Yeah. That's pennies, really. I mean, I know.
Now imagine that person this guy isn't, but imagine that person who's married, who's got 2 kids at home. It's wild.
Yeah.
So, all right. So last question, and this is something that David from the former Peachtree Sandwich Company once told me I should ask everybody, and that is, why do you do what you do?
David. What's David's last name?
Anastasio?
Yeah, David. David.
Do you know him?
I do know David.
Oh, do you?
I do know David. I used to play a lot of golf with his brother.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Great guy. Great food.
Yeah.
It was, he says they're going to try and get back open somewhere else someday soon. So.
I was going to say, probably the cost of doing business on that end of Erie Boulevard probably didn't help him. That's...
Yeah.
You look at that end of Erie Boulevard, and it's expensive to do business at.
Yeah,
there.
For sure.
But why do I do what I do?
Yeah.
You know what? It's not about money.
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, you have a little one coming up.
Yeah.
I do it because of my 2 sons.
Mm.
I can get up in the morning. I can get up at any point of the night in the morning, do my work that I need to do. If I need to snag a 30-minute nap or an hour nap in the middle of the day, get a nap, pay somebody to do afternoon chores or do them myself, and make it to all my kids' games.
Yeah.
Make it to all my kids' school functions. I can be a dad.
Yeah.
My youngest asked the question when our first trip that we did, like Christmas trip that we were talking about.
Yeah.
We were sitting on the patio on the Atlantic in Florida, and my youngest says to me and my wife, he goes, "Dad, can you get rid of the farm so you can spend more time with us?" And I said, "Do you think if I got rid of the farm, I'd get to spend more time with you, bud?" And he goes, "Yeah, this is fun this week." And I was like, "Yeah, well, we're not working." I said, "But if I went back to the corporate world, I wouldn't get to see you every morning for breakfast before you went to school. I'd be gone before you get out of bed.
Yeah.
I'd get home at 5:30, 6 o'clock at night. If I wasn't on a traveling job where I was even home every night."
All right.
I said, "I get to have dinner with you. I get to get you off the bus every afternoon. You got a 1,500-foot driveway. I don't make them walk up it in the winter or when it's raining. I pick them up at the end of the driveway."
Yeah.
I had to explain to him because it's the only thing he's known.
Yeah.
But it's so I can be a father, so I can be with my kids, and I wouldn't do it any differently.
Yeah.
So
are you saying that all the people that want to open restaurants, they're going to be working those long hours, that they should open a farm instead?
No.
No, don't.
No. I mean, you got to follow your heart, right?
Yeah.
You got to do what works for you. I figured out a way, and may sound bad, but food producers, chefs,
Yeah.
owners, right? We're all egomaniacs, right?
Yeah.
What do you want to hear when somebody eats one of your chicken sandwiches?
Yeah. It was the best thing ever.
Best chicken sandwich I ever had.
Yeah.
Feed my ego. Same thing with the cheese making. Just feed my best goat cheese I ever had.
Yeah.
Boom, your head just swells, right?
Oh, yeah.
We all want to hear that.
Yeah.
Right? We all want to hear we're the best, we're doing the best. And you know, it's that's it.
Yeah.
You know? We're all feeding the ego.
Funny. Well, Barry, thank you so much for coming in, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Anthony.
Yeah. All
Had
right.
a good time.
Yeah. For everybody who's listening, where can they find the products, the cheese, and everything that's available?
Wow. Okay, so retail locations, Green Planet Grocery in Syracuse. It's considered Syracuse, but it's Fairmont, the Fairmont area there. Local food market in Tully and Cortland.
Okay.
Trying to think here. I knew I should have brought a list.
Do you have a website with them listed?
I do. It's not very up to date because we haven't tried to grow the business that much. You know, especially the retail side.
Yeah.
But I'll go through restaurant stuff for you. I don't have a ton of retail. Oh, 20 East in Cazenovia.
Oh yeah.
That's a really good location for me. A little farm store. You know.
Yeah.
Great little story. That place is too. So that's where retail I'm at.
Okay.
Restaurant wise, in Cazenovia, I'm in the Braylock, Lincoln House, Kalamata Pita,
Oh yeah.
Cortland Homer area. We're in Dashers. Is it down there? And then Syracuse, Amano, A Pizza, Eden, Kasai, soon to be the Tap House.
Yeah.
Don't think I forgot anybody there. If I did, and one of my biggest, and they're a seasonal customer only. I don't know if you've been out there yet. Crazy Daisies.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're on the card.
Crazy Daisies uses a ton of my product all summer long. They keep me scrambling.
Yeah.
So
Great little family.
yeah.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I had a blast.